Despite being 30 years old, this guitar is the standard by which all modern shred machines are judged. Let's talk about it. My name's Nick Jennison, and I'm thinking about guitar. And today, we're taking a look at the 30th anniversary Axis from our friends at Music Man. Now, if you're unfamiliar, this guitar was originally released in 1996 and was designed by none other than King Edward Van Halen himself. And to celebrate the 30th anniversary of this iconic instrument, Music Man have re-released it in the original translucent colors. And I'm holding one of the most limited finishes, which is the trans blue over quilt maple. Looks absolutely gorgeous. This particular finish is limited to only 30 units worldwide, so it's a bit of a privilege to be playing this one for you guys today, and it'll be winging its way to its new owner shortly after we finish this video. I've got to say, I'm going to miss it because this guitar is an absolute stunner. Another thing to point out here is this is, with a handful of modern updates, a very loving recreation of those iconic original guitars that, if you've played one, you will know are exceptionally special. Some things to know about this guitar: it's quite a small instrument. It has a dinky little 4 and 2 headstock design so that it will fit in the overhead compartment of a commercial airliner. It also features the custom wound DiMarzio pickups that remain unchanged from the original design and are part of what made the original guitars so popular. They sound absolutely killer and are only available on these instruments. It also features, again, a quilted maple top in a beautiful trans blue finish with a very cool special surprise around the back that I'll show you in a second. A dive-only locking tremolo system, 3-way switch, and a single volume control. Some updates, however, include stainless steel frets and glow-in-the-dark side markers on the beautiful, super comfortable birdseye maple neck. We'll get really nerdy about the spec in just a second, but before we do, let's take another listen to this guitar played to a variety of rigs in a variety of styles. now we've heard some of the tones this guitar can produce, let's talk more about the spec, and we're going to begin, as is tradition for us, at the headstock. So some things to note about this headstock are the classic small California style headstock with the 4 and 2 non-locking tuner layout and these beautiful pearloid buttons that really do hark back to the original guitars. It also features a matching paint job in the front of the headstock as the body, and this is facilitated by the fact that this is a non-roasted maple neck. I'm also going to flip it over and show you the back of the headstock because this is a very cool thing that Music Man have been doing recently, where we have a gloss finish on the headstock and then a masked off and satin finished back of the neck. This means you get all the beauty of the wood up here, but you also get this really tactile satin feel. I have to tell you, Music Man makes some of the best necks I've ever played, and this guitar is no exception. It's just unbelievably comfortable, and the finish is as close to bare wood as you can get without it causing problems, and it feels just absolutely tremendous. And you can see all this beautiful bird's eye figuring on the back of the neck. Gorgeous. Now let's flip it over and show you one of the new modern accoutrements. These side dot markers are glow in the dark. Now that's not something that was on the original Axis, but it doesn't detract from the authenticity of this model and just adds a bit of extra visibility on dark stages. It also features a modern update in the form of stainless steel frets, and they feel fantastic. They're quite a small fret profile. Myself, I prefer a much larger fret, but it doesn't get in the way of the playability, and this is a mark of a well-selected fret height. I'm being very nerdy here, but fret height is important to me, and this guitar is exceptionally playable despite having, again, quite a small fret profile and a very flat fretboard radius. Now, speaking of the fretboard, if we turn our attention to the neck joint very quickly, another favorite feature of mine is this truss rod adjustment wheel, which means you can easily adjust the truss rod if you're moving, say, from one climate to another, or even just giving your guitar its 6-monthly seasonal adjustment without having to reach for tools. You don't have to take covers off, you don't have to take the string retaining bar off the locking nut. It's a whole hassle that we could do without, and Music Man have spared us this. Now, another thing to pay attention to here is the beautiful finish on the body. This is one of several finishes that are available. The blue and the red are the most limited versions. They're available in 30 units only. The gold, which is perhaps the most popular and most iconic Axis finish, is 90 units, and all the other finishes are 50 units, unless I'm mistaken. But something that is new for these guitars is the sparkle finish on the back of the body. Now, this is very subtle, and each sparkle matches the color that is on the front. So this is a very subtle blue sparkle. I'm really hoping this shows up in the camera because it is very subtle. It looks black until the light strikes it just right. Now, while we're here, we can also get a look at the deeply carved away neck joint, which gives you excellent upper fret access. And we can also see that we have 2 little roots here, or routes for our American friends, to allow you to adjust the trem springs should you so desire. Now, the tremolo itself is a 2-point locking design. It is Music Man branded, and it's set up to be dive only. Now, if you really wanted to, you could probably configure this to have a little bit of upward travel, but truthfully, part of the appeal of the tremolo system on a guitar like the Axis is the fact that it's rock solid in tune. When you strike the guitar hard, it doesn't warble, but you still have plenty of downward travel should you wish to engage in some dive bomb action, which of course you're going to want to because you're playing an Axis. Now, for me, another one of the stars of the show are these DiMarzio pickups, which are, to my mind, absolutely core to the Axis tone. And it's also something that's quite unique to this guitar when compared to the other Music Man instruments that are available, because Music Man tend to wind their own pickups. They all sound absolutely fantastic, but these DiMarzios, without them, you don't really have an Axis, in my opinion, and they're also only available, to my knowledge, on these guitars. Speaking of which, we're going to take a listen to the tones that are available from these pickups in a slightly more forensic setting. We'll do this with 3 different amp setups, and in each example, we'll go bridge pickup, both pickups in parallel, and then the neck pickup. There are no splits to speak of. It is 3 tones and 3 tones only, and we'll explore them through a clean amplifier, through a JCM 800, and then through a high gain lead tone. go, folks. That's been a look at the 30th anniversary Axis from our friends at Music Man. This is a fitting tribute and a very gentle modern update to an absolute stone cold classic that started so many trends in the shred guitar world. Unfortunately, if you do want one of these, you're going to have to move very fast because they are strictly limited in these beautiful original colors that represent the same finishes that were available back in the 90s. It's just such an evocative instrument, especially for a player of my vintage, let's say, because I remember seeing these guitars when I've not long started playing and I lusted after them so badly. And this guitar, it really takes you right back to that golden era of guitar building. Once again, this is the 30th anniversary Axis from Music Man. My name is Jennison, and I'm thinking about guitar.